storylines, matchups to watch, and keys to victory coming your way on Crossover Thursday for Eagles-Broncos.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles and Locked On Broncos your first listen each and every day. I'm Louie DiBiase, host of the Locked On Eagles podcast. He's Sayre Bedinger, host of the Locked On Broncos podcast and Crossover Thursdays, presented by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use our code LOCKEDONNFL in all capital letters to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. The Eagles are 4-0 heading into this matchup. The Broncos at 2-2, but very well, Sayre could be 4-0. I mean, lost a couple close games against some good teams. So I think this is going to be a really good battle and a great test for the Eagles at home against one of the more underrated rosters in football.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, there's a bitter taste in the Broncos' mouths after those two losses, and they kind of took it out on the Cincinnati Bengals there on Monday Night Football a little bit, had to finish out September with a victory, and I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in this one because, it's Vic Fangio. Every Broncos fan loves Vic Fangio, and getting to see him again and getting to see him win a Super Bowl last year, we kind of lived vicariously through that. Of course, beating the Chiefs, every Broncos fan was an honorary Eagles fan at the end of last season. But yeah, we love Vic Fangio in Denver, and obviously there's a number of guys in the front office as well for Philadelphia, so pretty decent amount of Broncos connections with this matchup here that you don't often really think about even.
No, and the Eagles are trying to get to 5-0 while the Broncos are trying to separate themselves from this cluster of 2-2 teams in the AFC. And Sayre, I do feel like the Broncos, of all those teams right now in the NFL, at 2-2 at 500, and the league is so close right now. I mean, you can see it every week. There's upsets and crazy outcomes. That's just kind of the month of September in the NFL, right? I feel like every single year. But I personally do think Denver is they're almost like the AFC version of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where they quietly have been building something really special, kind of under the wraps, but yet they're kind of like put in this tier with some teams that I think they are superior to, and I feel like this could be a really good litmus test for them if they could take down the Eagles and kind of show that, they're more than just the Cinderella team of last year that was a 7 seed in the conference.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because really the biggest storyline in this game from Denver's side of things is, can you actually beat an elite team, right? I mean, They got blown out by the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs last year. They lost in heartbreaking fashion in Kansas City. They beat Kansas City's backups, got blown out last year by the Ravens. I mean, the best team they've really beaten, I guess, with this in the Sean Payton era with Bo Nix at quarterback is really the Buccaneers that you mentioned early last season. They've beaten some teams with winning records. They've won a lot of games they were not favored in, but they have yet to beat a truly elite team. And now you got to go on the road and face off against the best team in the NFL last year. I mean, and this year, the Eagles just finding so many different ways to win. It's almost like an impossible Sudoku puzzle that everybody's trying to figure out. Can we throw on these guys? Can we run on these guys? Can we have the ball last? It doesn't matter. So that's the tough thing for the Broncos in this one is, can you actually win against a top-tier team?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a weird season for the Eagles already. At 4-0, I mean, if you would have told me they were undefeated coming out of September, I wouldn't have believed you because it was a gauntlet of a schedule. I mean, you play your biggest division rival week 1 against Dallas, and they played you down to the final wire. Then you play the Chiefs again, looking to get revenge from Super Bowl 59, the team that you've had a rivalry with for years now in the big championship game. Then, of course, you play two of what I think are the top 4 teams in the NFC, the Los Angeles Rams, and, as we mentioned, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the fact that they got to 4-0 is huge, especially in September when everybody's knocking off the rust and trying to figure out who you are as a football team. But at the same time, like, the Eagles do have things to correct. Like, the big storyline for the Eagles right now is, can they stop this roller coaster ride that they're on the offensive side of the football, where there's times they look like the Super Bowl winning team of last year. The first half against Tampa Bay, Jalen Hurts threw all over Todd Bowles' defense. The second half against the Rams, they erased a 19-point deficit. But then a team this talented has -1 passing yards the first half against LA. They had not a single completion in the second half against Tampa. So they're able to still win because they're so talented, but they can't do that against a very underrated top-tier Denver defense again and expect to keep pulling out these kinds of wins. So the wins are huge, but I think if they want to win a championship again this year, there is a higher standard they need to get to. And I think that's been the whole AJ Brown drama this week, is trying to get to that standard.
Yeah, and I think that'll be one of the most interesting storylines to watch as well in this game is, are they going to force feed him? Are they going to try to get him ball early and often to make him happy? And will they be able to do that? I mean, that'll
say it's the best corner in football on the other side.
I know, and I love that. That's the kind of stuff that we love around here. So I'm excited for that, and I'm excited to talk more about it. But you're 100% right. I mean, the Eagles feel like a team right now that they've got such a built-in margin for error that they kind of like, they would never probably say it, but like subconsciously, you can tell that they know it when they're playing in these games that, we can hand it to Saquon at any time and he's going to bust off a big one, or, not that they're being lackadaisical or apathetic or anything like that. It just feels like they know that they've got this built-in margin for error.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's just crazy, though. Through 4 games, they've been outgained offensively in each of those matchups. So moving forward against Denver and the rest of the year, like, that can't happen for as talented as they are on both sides of the ball if they want to win another Super Bowl. But yeah, I mean, a lot of storylines to watch in this matchup. Is there something else you're really looking for with the Broncos? Obviously, like, them showing they can be in this top tier of the league and be like, take another step from what they were last year. But what else are you like really watching closely in this game?
Well, I think every single week, every Broncos fan is looking at how does Bo Nix perform against whatever defense they're going up against, right? I mean, and I think anybody that plays against the Broncos is typically interested as well. Like, is this guy for real? Because you hear some things from some people and you hear other things from other people. A lot of pre-draft bias still out there for Bo Nix. But look, I think he's played as well as you could have expected at this point. The second best numbers of any Broncos quarterback in history through 21 games behind Peyton Manning. So, I mean, with what Bo's doing, it's really been a nice progression from last year, but fans are so impatient, right? They wanted that 4-0 start so badly because, like you said, it was within their grasp. And you obviously blame the quarterback and the head coach when that doesn't happen. So for Bo Nix, can you now go up against the guy that, I mean, Vic Fangio is so revered in Broncos country that the guy might as well have a statue outside of the building. I mean, everybody thinks George Payton, that was his biggest mistake, was firing Vic after the 2021 season and moving on to Nathaniel Hackett to try and get Rodgers, which is a whole other can of worms, right? So can you go up against Vic, this guy who is revered by everyone in Broncos country, and have a big game? Like Bo Nix doing that would be absolutely massive for his, I guess, even reputation amongst Broncos fans.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think Bo Nix is kind of the representation of what Denver's trying to do all year, right? He's trying to prove he's a franchise quarterback, and Denver's trying to prove like they have that next level in them too. Because I think Nix, we know, has a high floor. He's proven, even as a rookie, that you can win with him. You can make the playoffs with Bo Nix. Can you win a championship because of Bo Nix? That's what he's trying to prove this year, whereas the Eagles are trying to prove they can win another championship. And it's going to be a tough test for this offense to bounce back against a very good Denver defense. That's going to be one of the key matchups we watch. Coming up next, we'll talk about all the matchups for Eagles-Broncos right here on Crossover Thursday, Locked On Eagles and Locked On Broncos. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles and Locked On Broncos podcast, we are brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NFL season's here, and FanDuel is an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet. Jalen Hurts anytime rushing touchdown tends to work. Put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the entire app. I love using FanDuel because it gives you so many ways to play. Parlays, you can try player props, even follow along the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and to get started. Guys, today's show on Crossover Thursday is also brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anybody else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. like players, they sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, crossover Thursday right here on the Locked On Eagles, Locked On Broncos podcast, as always presented by PrizePicks. Big matchup this Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field between, Sayre, I think the big matchup is going to be between, I think, the most talented offense in the league, even though they're not playing like it, with the Eagles led by Jalen Hurts on the offensive side of the football against that Denver defense. Because it's funny, the Broncos have been so good on defense for a couple years now. And you look at like Benito and Cooper and Surtain, like they're so good on all three levels. Yet I don't know if you agree. I feel like they're very underrated on that side of the ball. But you could make the argument Jalen Hurts has to go up against the best defense in football.
Yeah, I think that the biggest reason why they may be underrated, is the fact that they're kind of a bend, don't break type of group under Vance Joseph, right? They really they don't struggle between the 20s necessarily, but I would say they're way stronger when teams get into the red zone, and then they all of a sudden just become otherworldly. Teams don't really convert in the red zone against the Denver Broncos, and that's been their kind of calling card under Vance Joseph. And so right now they're also not forcing a ton of turnovers, and so they're kind of struggling between the 20s a little bit. I would say even on first and second down for a couple of games in a row against the Colts, against the Chargers, the Broncos gave up a lot of yards on first and second down, which, if you're Saquon Barkley, if you're Jalen Hurts, you're thinking to yourself, man, we've got a chance to really gash these guys on the early downs and get into favorable third down situations and really put them on their heels the entire game. That's where I think the Broncos have struggled the most, and maybe why they're considered maybe a bit more underrated at this point.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think the Eagles' run game, though, really needs to get back on track. It's weird because Saquon Barkley and this offensive line, outside of the right guard position, it's all exactly the same personnel as you had last year when Saquon had, I think, the greatest season a running back's ever had. Total yardage-wise, he did when you combine the regular season and the playoffs, and it led to them winning a Super Bowl. But this year, it has not been the same. The last two games, Saquon Barkley has averaged under 3 yards a carry. And when you look at why, it's defenses are stacking the box. They're putting 8+ guys in the box. Landon Dickerson right now is not healthy. I think Cam Jurgens at center is still battling that back injury from last year in the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl. Lane Johnson keeps coming in and out of the lineup. Tyler Steen's he's good, but he's not Mekhi Becton from last year. So it's kind of strange. That normally is the Eagles' superpower, but they're still trying to figure out that part of this offense. So I honestly think there's all this A.J. Brown drama this week, that's the biggest matchup I'm watching is, can the Eagles' run game get going against that Denver front? Because if the Eagles' run game doesn't get back to who they were last year, the passing game, for as talented as they are, they're always going to be up and down in the Hurts era. So they have to be able to run the football. So I'm watching that closely too.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the way the Broncos struggled with Jonathan Taylor back in week 2 against the Colts. That's going to have Broncos country just having nightmares this whole week leading up to this game of wondering about, can we actually stop Saquon Barkley over the course of 4 quarters in a game? Can you stop this Eagles rushing attack? Because you do have to account for those wide receivers. You can't necessarily just stack the box every single play. And the Broncos may try because they believe in the guys that they have at corner to play man coverage, which is the matchups on both sides of the ball that I guess I'm kind of really looking forward to here is the wide receivers against the top corners. Because obviously on one side of the field, you've got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith going up against Pat Surtain and Riley Moss. And on the other side, then you got Quinyon Mitchell going up against Cortland Sutton, who's played really well this season. And so this is a conversation now because I know there's a lot of talk about, is Quinyon Mitchell entering that top corner in the league, discussion with PS2.
If you watched the tape last week, man, it's getting there. He was unbelievable. Won NFC Defensive Player of the Week. The main reason you won that game is because Quinyon Mitchell shadowed Emeka Egbuka and totally erased him. He only allowed on 9 targets, 2 receptions for 6 yards against Godwin and Egbuka. So, yeah, he's getting there, man. I don't know if he's still, Pat Surtain's in a whole nother tier, but I think Quinyon's right in that tier below him. So I'm kind of curious, how they will approach that matchup for both corners, because last week, Vic Fangio normally plays predominantly zone coverage, but he did have Quinyon moving across the formation. No matter where Egbuka went, Quinyon was going too. Will he do that with Sutton again, another team that has one really like top tier weapon. I think Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims are underrated targets, but like they have one true alpha, right? So in those kind of scenarios, I like having the corner shadow. I'm curious if they'll do that for the Eagles on defense. And I don't know, what say you? Like, do you think Surtain will? I mean, the Eagles have Devontae Smith too, but I do wonder if he's going to shadow AJ.
Yeah, I would guess that it's probably going to be a majority of the snaps that he's shadowing AJ Brown. But
I mean, that's what I would do. So
that's what I would think too. I mean, size-wise, speed, all those sorts of things. They believe so much in Riley Moss. I know that he's one of the most contested guys also in Broncos country because he is grabby. He does get called for penalties and he gets targeted a ton. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles kind of take a page out of what we've seen from the last couple of teams against the Broncos. They're just like, hey, we're going to go after Riley Moss. So if maybe this is the Devontae Smith game, because teams are kind of trying to pick on Riley a little bit, especially when they get those obvious man coverage situations. And Vance Joseph, he's going to do that type of stuff. He likes to blitz. He likes his corners. He's confident in those guys, in their ability to make plays, whether it's a sink or swim kind of a thing though. So that's one thing that I'll be watching in this one is to see how aggressive the Eagles are throwing the ball early because of Vance Joseph's confidence in those corners.
I think also I'm just really looking forward to going back to the Eagles defense against the Broncos offense. Sean Payton, you already mentioned Vic Fangio. Sean Payton's one of the best play callers in the league. Like in this modern NFL era, like he's up there with the best of the best. Him going up against Vic Fangio, I always love those kind of battles when Fangio goes up against like, Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, Andy Reid. Like that's always entertaining. And I feel like he talked about this week having a similar plan for Knicks that he did last week with Baker. They're very similar play style. Fangio even said like Knicks could be Baker's younger brother. So I do wonder if he'll try to play him the same way. And I think like a key matchup is the Eagles edge group without Nolan Smith. Like can they get to Bo Nix? But also like keep him inside the pocket because Bo has very underrated mobility. I don't know why he's been doing this since the days of, at Auburn and Oregon, but can that group without Nolan Smith, can they get to him and get him on the ground? Because if Bo Nix can make plays outside of structure, improv, like if he can break that initial first rush, that's when he can really do some damage. So that was a problem last week is I think the rush was getting to Baker, but Mayfield was able to extend and not get on the ground. So I'm really watching that as well.
Yeah, 100%, because Bo Nix loves to throw moving out to his right, especially on play action. He's really good at that stuff, and he's really good at not taking sacks regardless. I think that's the thing that's so impressive about him is that and maybe why Vic thinks he compares favorably to Baker Mayfield, because he's a gunslinger. He's not afraid to go out there and chuck the ball downfield if it means not taking a sack, right? And so we'll see some of those errant throws in that way. But yeah, that's what maybe the Eagles defense has to do a lot of this week is kind of get him to throw the ball further down the field, bait him into those throws, and force the Broncos into 3rd and long situations, which they've struggled with this season. Up until the Bengals game, I think they were averaging a 3rd and 7 or longer in their first 3 games, which is insane. So early down effectiveness against Bo Nix in that passing attack, rallying and tackling against Denver's quick passing game, that's going to be huge for this Eagles defense, I think.
For sure. Going back to it, though, to wrap this up, I really think that strength-on-strength matchup of Cooper and Benito against Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, I just think that's going to be a lot of fun. And the Broncos lead the league in sacks, I believe. I mean, going up against it is the best tackle duo in the NFL. I mean, I just always love those kind of battles, stars on stars. And whoever wins that one, I think could really dictate this matchup.
Yeah, that's a fun one, isn't it? I mean, Nick Benito has 4.5 sacks already this season. I think Next Gen Stats said he's averaging 6 pressures per game so far. And
yet Jonathan I still feel like people in their first breath, don't mention him with the best of the best, but he's been that way now for a couple. I mean, I loved him coming out of Oklahoma, so I've been a fan ever since, but I still feel like he's not getting his flowers. I don't know. It's almost kind of like when Hassan Reddick for a few years, and I knew this from when he was the Eagles, but even when he was in Carolina and Arizona, quietly was one of the best edge rushers. And that's kind of like the Benito vibes for me.
Yeah, very much so. And I think that when you see him whip up on somebody like Joe Alt, especially, I mean, even Joe Alt was getting some hype, and Nick Benito whooped him a number of times in that Chargers game. But I mean, game-winning field goals kind of erase the story within when the defensive players having his way. So yeah, maybe this is the game for him to kind of have that sort of coming out party. If he can make a clutch play, maybe he's not whipping up on those guys, but maybe he can make one play in a big moment that really highlights, hey, this guy has finally arrived.
Eagles-Broncos this Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field. The first time these two teams are playing since 2021, actually. Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith's first year together. Keys to victory we'll get into coming up next right here on Crossover Thursday for Locked On Eagles and Locked On Broncos. Crossover Thursday for Locked On Eagles and Locked On Broncos is sponsored by Gametime. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium, surrounded by fans, cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and price jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I just pulled up Gametime actually earlier today. Just a couple taps. Saw some amazing deals. I'm going to Eagles-Bears on Black Friday. Talking about your favorite NFL games for as low as $100. The app is made super simple, and you can make sure on top of the great price, you're also getting a great seat view before you buy. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way that I've ever bought tickets. So download the Gametime app today, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. All right, we're wrapping up Crossover Thursday right here on Locked On Eagles and Locked On Broncos. Sayre, if you had to say for Denver, and again, they're the underdog in this one, going on the road, one of the only undefeated teams left in football, one of two, the Eagles and the Bills, going on the road against that team is going to be no easy task. But if Denver did pull off the upset here and gave the Eagles their first loss, like what are the three, you would say, main key victory strategies for the Broncos? Like how do they get this win?
Yeah, I think it's going to be number one, early down success offensively. I think number two, you got to force some turnovers because they haven't done that a lot. And then number three, I think you got to keep that running game rolling because the Broncos ran the ball extremely well against the Bengals after 3 games where they had 1 or 2 drives that they ran the ball really well. They just couldn't stick with it either because they didn't have enough plays offensively or because Sean Payton, he just likes to put the ball in Bo Nix's hands, and he does. But if you can run the ball effectively, win that line of scrimmage, like you said, Nolan Smith out, you feel like you've got one of the best offensive lines in the league. So let those guys do their thing, especially going on the road where, man, I don't know if this is a thing for you. You see this often, but man, the Broncos going out east and playing in the early window never seems to really work out well. So hopefully they can exercise those demons. I don't know what the official record is, but all time, it can't be all that great because the Broncos, I know for sure, as long as I've been covering them, they struggle with this particular time window.
The Eagles are finally getting some 1 o'clock games. It felt like forever. It was Sunday night, Monday night, national game at 4 o'clock. That just, goes with the territory of winning championships. But for me, I'm just excited that they're playing at 1 o'clock. And so, I think their success at 1 p.m. has kind of been up and down. But it is kind of funny. You mentioned like the trenches for Denver being a key. It's very unique that the Eagles are almost maybe not the team with the advantage in the trenches in a matchup. I do feel like normally they have the better offensive and defensive line, but Denver is that good. So that strength on strength trench battle could really dictate this game. For me though, for the Eagles specifically, if I had to say 3 keys to victory, I mentioned it earlier, you got to get the run game back on track. Obviously everybody's looking at this as the get right game for A.J. Brown in the passing game, but Pat Surtain is the best cornerback in football. If he's shadowing AJ, it's still going to be a tough day for Brown. He's going to get his, but I don't think he's going to have 130 yards in this matchup. So get Saquon Barkley going through the middle of that offensive line. Get him on the outside too. It's just been sputtering for a month now with number 26. So get the run game going. So then when you have a lead, you can actually start to, sustain time of possession. They just weren't able to hang on to the football in the second half against Tampa Bay. And then I would say continue to win the turnover battle. Jalen Hurts has yet to throw an interception this year. They've won the turnover battle every single week, which is a huge reason that they're 4-0. And then I think they have to win the explosive play battle too. I think people are so hyper-fixated on not turning the ball over, but I don't want Jalen to play scared. I want Jalen Hurts to be smart and have controlled aggression, but I don't want him to play like Sam Bradford back in the day where he's afraid to do anything. You have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Give them some opportunities. Even if they're not wide open, they can still be open. So it's hard to find that middle ground, that balancing act of not to force things, but I do think they need to take some chances because the explosive plays are not there so far this year. And if you lose that battle, Sayre, sometimes that's almost as crucial as winning the turnover battle.
Yeah, it really is, because if you can pin this Broncos offense deep, like I said, they've struggled with early down success this year. So if you can win field position, you're going to get enough possessions in a game, unless that run game keeps going, like we said for the Broncos as well. I mean, I know the keys are similar on both sides of this coin, and almost every week, right? I mean, it boils down to, can you not turn the ball over? Can you control time of possession? But at the same time, that's where Denver has kind of struggled the most. They had 9 first downs against the Los Angeles Chargers just 2 weeks ago. And so you get a get right game against Cincinnati, but now you're going up against another elite defensive coordinator and, a guy who knows a lot of your personnel, a guy who's as good as anybody at exploiting what you are bad at. And the Broncos have been often penalized as well. So even when they are having good sustained drives, man, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot a little bit here and ending these drives prematurely with illegal or ineligible man downfield, holding, false starts, all these sorts of things are coming up. And that's just been the problem for them so far this season. So yeah, you've got to take advantage when you do get those opportunities.
I think another key is just not getting kicks blocked. I don't know about you, but there's just been a catastrophic amount of blocked punts and kicks. The Eagles have back-to-back games where they returned a blocked field goal or punt for a touchdown, which I've never seen in my entire lifetime, that kind of consistency. And it's been a thing across the league. It's almost like if a kicker's not hitting, they're either hitting a 65-plus yard field goal or it's getting blocked, and there's really no middle ground. It's one of the weirdest phenomenons I've seen. But that's just the early part of the NFL season, man. It's just chaos.
Yeah, that has been really weird, hasn't it?
It's crazy.
Special team stuff has been weird. We've had teams losing games because they couldn't kick it in the right landing zone. All sorts of stuff it's bizarre. So yeah, I'm with you on that. And the Broncos, they've lost 2 games on game-ending field goals, but it hasn't been any of the craziness variety, right? It's just been kind of the, hey, you're flip of a coin here from 45 plus out.
Right. It's going to be a huge game, a close one. Both teams need it. Denver trying to get to 3-2 on the year, get out of that cluster of the AFC where it feels like everybody's at 500. The Eagles trying to get to 5-0 and continue to hang on to that top spot in the NFC. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Eagles and Locked On Broncos on YouTube and wherever you get the shows in audio form for instant reactions following the game. For Sayre Bedinger, I'm Louie DiBiase of Locked On Eagles and Locked On Broncos. Thanks so much for making us your first listen each and every day.